This week I'm headed to Dallas to a conference, and I figured this is a good time to document some of the things that I do in preparation for a conference. Right now I'm just getting everything ready. I was just taking down some notes on some of the things that I thought would be helpful for someone who is a first-gen Latino or Latina who is just starting out their careers or just starting to go to conferences. Okay, I jotted down a few notes of things that I thought would have been helpful for me to know a few years ago when I started going to conferences. Let's just first talk about what are conferences and what you should expect from them. A conference is just a space where like-minded people come together, whether that is people within one industry, one academic field, or people coming together around a certain topic. A question you might be asking is, why should you go? And what I would say is that proximity does really matter. So I do think that being in the same room as other people doing what you want to do will help you accelerate faster than if you weren't in those rooms. You do get access, insights, and just more visibility. I would recommend going to conferences if you're just starting out in your career, if you're trying to get a new job, or if you're trying to break into a new industry. It's really about the connections who are there and what you can learn from them. As a first-gen Latina, I didn't have a lot of insight from my parents or other family members, so I had to figure out a lot of these things on my own. And so this video is pretty much a video of what I wish I knew when I was starting out, and hopefully you find some value from this. One thing I wish I would have known back then is that you don't need to know everything to belong there. Imposter syndrome is very real, especially as a first-gen Latina. You often feel not ready, uncomfortable, but conferences are literally designed for you to connect and learn from other people. And one thing that I've learned over time is people are a lot less intimidating than you might think. However, I also do know that networking is a skill and it does take practice. But the best way to learn, I'll tell you right now, is just to do it. Just get started, go attend conferences, talk to people, even if it's uncomfortable for you. I will say that preparation makes a huge difference. So I will walk you through the 5 steps that I think are the most important to get you ready for your conference. The first thing that you want to do as you plan for a conference, review the agenda. You want to highlight the must-attend sessions. Okay, so you're gonna open up the conference website, you're gonna go to the agenda tab, you're gonna go through it and find the 3 to 5 sessions that are important to your goals, to your field, or that seem really interesting and just align with why you wanna be at the conference. This will help you avoid just wandering around and just joining any session, because you're gonna miss some of the sessions that you would have loved to be at with the people that you actually wanna meet and hear from. Read through abstracts. That's often really helpful to find out what the session's about. Like, don't just rely on the titles. Okay, the second thing I think you should be doing in preparation for conferences is researching 3 to 5 people or companies that you know you wanna connect with. This will help you, again, just get organized and know why you're going to the conference. I will say that a lot of times people go for the big names in an industry or a field, and that might not be the best strategy because those people are often surrounded by tons of people and they might not be interested in meeting you. So be strategic and be realistic and just think about, like, are there companies that you want to know more about? You might not want to be going after their CEO or certain directors, but maybe you can meet up with some interns or other people that could talk about the culture of the company, and that would be more interesting and you would get a lot more value from that. Okay, so for step 1, reviewing the agenda, and step 2 is figuring out who you're trying to talk to and learn from. Those are your quick wins, right? If you do those 2 things, you will be set for the conference, you will have accomplished something. Step number 3 is to set 2 to 3 clear goals for your time at the conference. Not 20, not network, just more generically talk to interesting people. Do you want to meet 3 people in the field that you want to be in? Do you want to learn more about a specific company or a specific career path? Be clear about those things early on. That'll help you prepare best for the conference. I think this is the step that most people miss, but it is really important so you can get the most out of a conference. I have my goals written down here, and I could just walk you through them. So my first goal is to first generate real interest in our app that we have built, Positive People, and collect people that want to sign up. So in order to do that, I have to have a sign up sheet and make sure that when I talk to people, I get them to sign up. Number 2 is I'd like to show the app to a couple of people and get their honest feedback. I think that's really important for us to improve it and to be able to continue to grow. And goal number 3 for me is to walk away with at least 5 to 10 people who are legitimate leads who would become potential partners or potential advocates for Positive People. My goals are specific, they're measurable. At the end of the conference, I could tell whether I accomplished those goals or if I came short. And so whatever your goals are, please write them down, revisit them every morning, and let them guide where you're gonna be spending your time for the day. If I was looking to get a job, let's say in a specific field, one of my goals might be talk to 3 people that have the UX researcher title at this type of company, or it could be collect 10 signups for this newsletter that I'm trying to start. Whatever your goals are, just make sure you're writing them down. Step number 4 that I think you need to take in preparation for going to a conference is make sure you're updating your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your headline is up to date. Make sure you have an up-to-date professional photo. And then lastly, make sure your work history is up to date, especially for people that are trying to leverage a conference for finding a job or making connections. People are going to be looking for you if they meet you at a conference. So you want to make sure people are finding the right person and that they're able to connect with you, and so you can do some follow-up later on after the conference. Okay, the last thing I believe you need to prepare to make the most of a conference is to prepare a quick intro, or what people call an elevator pitch. This is really important because as you meet people, they'll want to hear about you. So you need to be prepared to talk about yourselves, even if it's just a 1-sentence summary of who you are. For example, for me, it depends on the person I'm talking to, but I might have a couple of pitches ready just to talk a little bit about myself. So for example, my pitch might be something like, "Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm Director of Product at AJ Boggs. Our company focuses on providing tools for eligibility and intake." You also want to highlight why you're at the conference. So you might add, "Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm Director of Product at AJ Boggs. We provide eligibility and case management tools, and we are building a community for people living with HIV. I'm at the conference encouraging people to sign up for our app and looking to build partnerships for our latest products." Or something like that, right? You have to align it to whatever your line of work is, or if you're looking for a job, if you're just starting out in a field, say that. So I think a formula that really works is this. First, state who you are, what's your name, and what's your title or role. Then talk about where you're from, what's your company, what school are you from, what's your organization. Then make sure you have a sentence on what you do, just one clear sentence on what you do. Next, you want to talk about who you serve, who's your specific audience. And then finally close with, why are you here? What's your goal for today? If you go through this exercise, you will have an elevator pitch that you can practice. And I will say you want to make sure you practice your pitch. For myself, I'm very much an introvert, so I want to make sure I'm ready with my pitch and want to make sure I know how to start conversations. It could be as easy and simple as, "Hi, what brought you here?" or "What company are you from?" That's usually how I start my conversations. People can tell when you're being transactional. You want to make sure you build rapport, you're genuinely interested in what people are saying. So just start to make connections, introduce yourself, see why people are at the conference, and you will start to learn about people and hopefully you find some way to connect with them. And so here's what I'll say about people who are feeling a little bit nervous or a little bit apprehensive about networking, or like that term. Most people at conferences are extremely approachable. Even the directors, even the people who you see as like, really high in their field, they're okay with people coming up to them and saying, "Hi, I admire your work." If you've read a paper by them, if you know what they do, it's fine to just go up to them and let them know that you know of them. People love talking about themselves. So I think that's an easy way to just start a conversation, especially if it's someone you look up to. And I will say, I have learned a little bit about networking, and it's not a fun thing for a lot of people. So they're also there to make connections, so they're there for the same reason you are. And I know the imposter syndrome is real, especially for first-gen professionals, people who were not born into this type of atmosphere and knowing how to walk into rooms like this, but you're supposed to be there. So your presence is not an accident. Walk in and know that. Be confident about it. Make sure if you have business cards, bring them with you. It's a nice way to connect when people are trying to know more about you. If you can say, hey, here's my business card, let's connect. I have my business cards here ready to go for the conference. I also would recommend you could get a digital badge too. So this is one that has a QR code where if you scan it with your phone, it takes you directly to my information and like my LinkedIn page. So you can get something like this printed out. But if not, a business card is a super cheap way to go. You could get hundreds of business cards designed and printed and shipped to you for about $10-20. It is not an expensive thing to get. And it's a nice addition to have. So that's my top 5 things that I think you should be doing in order to prepare and make the most of a conference. As a first-gen person, you've probably had the experience of walking into a room or a space and feeling like you don't belong or wondering if you do. Conferences might feel like that for a lot of people, especially when you see others who know a lot of people in the room and who have been there for years and years. But here's the truth. Those people felt just like you the first time they attended. The difference is they showed up and kept showing up until it became normal. They became friends with other people. So you're allowed to feel that, but also know that you're allowed to be in the room, especially if you're prepared. Go prepared, have your goals, have your business cards, have your pitch, show up as your full, unapologetic self. That's it for today's video. I'll be filming during my time at the conference. I will hopefully try to show what a conference actually looks like in real time, what works, what doesn't work. And I will say each conference is very different, so make sure you do your due diligence, do your research, and make sure you're taking these steps to prepare. Lastly, if you want to follow along, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you have been to conferences before, drop a comment below. What was the one thing you wish you would have known when you first went to a conference? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Dallas with more content.